All right, so getting back to finishing off the examples, this is all we really have left. It's the same process each time. So hopefully I left enough space for you. I'm starting to think I didn't, but 90 quarts to gallons. So you write it as a fraction. That's what you're comfortable with. It's the same as similar triangles. 90 quarts over. You know what? If you start getting smart about this, and let's talk about this. I actually want the variable on top, right? So why am I putting the variable on the bottom? That's just being ridiculous. So how many gallons? X gallons over 90 quart equals. So now I have to go back to that chart, and I got to find gallons and quarts. So going back here, finding my gallons and quarts. Let's see here. So here's gallons, and here's quarts. So 1 gallon has 4 quarts. So back here, 1 gallon has 4 quarts. Drop the notations because that's only important here in order to make sure they line up. So I make sure that, again, I'll stress this one more time. Okay, gallons are on top and our quarts are on the bottom. If you have that, then it's a ratio we're just solving. Because the x is by itself, I'm just going to do a partial cross multiply. So the 90 multiplies up to the 1. So x equals 90 over 4. Excuse me, what the heck was that? So we end up with 90 divided by 4 gives us somewhere in the area of 22 and a half, I believe. So 22 and a half gallons. All right. Excuse me. So moving along then. The other ones are very, very similar. Okay. How many pounds? X pounds for 245 ounces. So now we're into mass. So we're going to look for pounds and ounces. Looking for pounds and ounces. So acres, quarts, down at the bottom. Here we go. 1 pound has 16 ounces. So there's our fraction. So 1 pound has 16 ounces. We're just going to do a cross multiply. We want to get x by itself. So we end up with x equals 245 over 160. So when we do that calculation, we find that 245 turns out to be 1.5 pounds, 1.5 pounds approximately. And finally, area. We can do the conversion as well. So how many square feet? So we can write it like that. Okay. Or you can do the SQFT. It's whatever you're more comfortable with and what you've had in the past. Over 75 square yards. So we need to go back to our conversion chart to find those values. So we're looking for square feet and yards and square yards. So area was right there. 1 square yard is 9 square feet. So feet on top. So 9 square feet in 1 square yard. So doing the partial cross multiply, we find we do 75 times 9. That's actually going to give us our final answer. So x will equal 9 times 75. So get 675 square feet. And there you go. Okay. So final question, just a word problem that you're going to run into in the homework. Calculate the cost, including 13% sales tax. So we're going to do a bit of a review here. Make sure we know how to deal with tax. You've measured your room at home. Your bedroom's 20 by 14 feet, which is great size. And it costs $24 per square yard. So how much do you have to pay to get new carpet? First thing we have to do is find area. So just as a quick review, hopefully from grade 9, you remember that area is length times width. So we end up with 20 times 14. So we end up with 280 square feet. I keep wanting to do FT squared, which is fine. But some of you are probably used to that notation. Okay, now the problem with this question, the reason I'm bringing this one up, our cost is in square yard Our answer is in square feet. So we're going to have to convert so I know that. I want to know how many square yards. So square yards when I have 280 square feet. So I already did it in a previous question above. I know that 1 square yard has 9 square feet. Multiplying up to isolate for x. So x is equal to 280 divided by 9. Now x would equal 31.1 repeated. Now in terms of construction, you're going to have to pay for, we'll go 31.2 if you want to make sure, because if you round down, and this is the funny one, it's 31.1111. However, if you're going to pay for it, they're not going to round down for you. So I'm going to say, in terms of construction, to round up no matter what. So 31.2. So it doesn't matter. Rounding rules work a little bit different in terms of the construction world or the real world. Okay. So I'm just going to round it up, make sure that I'm going to be charging enough money because I don't want to pay for someone else's carpet. So there we are. Final step then is to find the cost. So cost is equal to our unit rate multiplied by our area, in this case, multiplied by 1.13. 1.13, just as a side note, and I'm not sure if you remember this back in grade 9, but for taxes, if you're going to pay 13% taxes, we multiply by 1.13. The 1 represents original cost. So you're going to pay 100% of that original cost. All right? Everyone has to do that. The 0.13 is the extra cost. All right? So that's how we say plus 13%. What it does is it saves us a calculation. Okay? So when we go back up here, we know that each square yard is $24 square foot, or square yard. That's from the original question. We know that we are buying 31.2 square feet, and we're going to multiply by our taxes because I want to get final cost all in one step just to be efficient. And we get the final cost to be $846.15. So don't forget your therefore statement, especially on the test. Therefore, final cost will be $846.15. All right. So that gives you a feel for the word problems. You're going to have to do a conversion inside the word problems because they're going to give you the unit rate in a different form. So if it's talking about yards, they'll give it to you in feet or inches or something. So you just got to go through and practice the conversion process. Okay. You may want to add this unit rate formula or cost formula to your cheat sheet or your study sheet because it will come up throughout the word problems. So instead of kind of banging your head against the wall, that's the formula there. And that area could be also a length if you're buying stuff by the linear foot, okay? So area, length, it's whatever you're actually calculating. So 3 stages, okay? Find how much you need, convert, and calculate your final cost. All right, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them, and I will clear up what I can.